So, how did I originally get to Osaka, Japan? I figured the best way to bring you on the journey was just show you one of my favorite rides in and out of Osaka when I only have an hour or two on the bike. I'm going to take you on one of my favorite short rides that's not just dense city traffic. So I'm originally from upstate New York, USA, not New York City. So like if you were to imagine where I'm from, imagine farms and apple orchards and some modest mountains. Modest compared to Japan at least. But I'm from an area in New York, close to Syracuse, New York. If you know it, sorry, life gets better. No, it was a fine place to grow up. We moved around a lot when I was younger, actually. So I've lived in quite a few areas, but most of my childhood was spent in the Syracuse area. My dad's side of the family is from New York City, and so later on in life I do spend a fair bit of time around there. But because of his work, we ended up moving to Pennsylvania when I was 16. And in Pennsylvania, 16 is old enough to get your motorcycle license. And as someone with no experience or anything, and the American Harley dream escaping my budget, I got a really old 1982 Honda CB650. So between my Honda and having been watching anime for a few years at that point, Japan had obviously caught my interest, but it would still be a good long while before I actually even consider leaving the US at all. So after 2 years of high school in Pennsylvania, I went to university down in western North Carolina in the Appalachian region, and I did my 4-year degree there. But since I was from a small town in the US, I still had that we're the best mentality. So I would have those conversations, and of course that conservative region had a tendency to agree. But there were some international students, one particularly from Sweden, who openly disagreed with that idea. Lane filtering's the best. Not to be confused with lane splitting, those people are insane. I don't know why Americans think this is such a dangerous experience. So the girl from Sweden, she kind of kept making the argument that a lot of the things that made my country the greatest, in my opinion, were actually very far behind her country and many other countries. And typically this is when I would have that F you moment, like, we're awesome, if you don't like it, get out. But I decided to go home and do the research to prove her wrong. And it actually worked quite well in her favor, because I woke up to realize the US is very lagging. And, you know, there were plenty of disappointments in the Southern mentality that, you know, if you like it, I'm happy for you, live it up. But there were some disappointments, and I ended up moving with my father to New Jersey, just across the Hudson River from New York City. And after about a year in that area, there were just some unfortunate things in life that I needed a break from. So I took my, at that time, Yamaha Striker motorcycle up to Canada for a 1-week road trip. And in Canada, I met some foreign people that told me about, you know, all these countries had solutions to issues that had plagued me. Like, I grew up with some health issues, and it cost my family quite a bit, and there was a long waiting list based on price and inconsistencies. And I met some Australians that explained to me the working holiday visa, I think I should say now I took the long way to Japan, because Japan was never the goal. But I went to Australia, and for about 7 months I traveled and worked a bit here and there, and meeting so many Europeans while I was in Australia. They explained to me how great their countries were, and so I decided to start traveling. I went to New Zealand first, and then I found myself crossing a few little spots here and there, getting up to Norway. Oh look, they finally paved this road. This is quite nice. Gosh, the sign is so low. It's definitely lower than the bridge. So I got to Norway to hitchhike around, and hitchhiking was so safe and wonderful. I met amazing people that I would have had no other way to meet. This girl that picked me up in Belgium explained to me the TEFL, Teach English as a Foreign Language program. And so I got to join a program in Paris, France, and live for 2 months teaching English and getting certified as an English teacher. But after 2 months in France, in Paris specifically, I liked other parts better in France, but after 2 months in Paris, I decided it didn't quite tickle my fancy the way that I had hoped. So I decided it was time to leave France, but where to go? I did not want to go back to the US. So I didn't want to go back to the US, and some people I met through the TEFL program explained to me the au pair program. So the au pair program is essentially, you're an in-home nanny / language tutor. You know, you don't think of a big bearded American as your typical in-home nanny. But I joined the program, and I got some families that messaged me and wanted to sponsor me. And I did not plan to move to Spain, but that was the best offer I got, and I figured it's about time I speak more than one language. I was frustrated that everybody could speak my language, and all I had to do was show up. That was a great way to learn my second language, Spanish. And I moved to the northwest of Spain for about 9 months. And after my 9 months, I was kind of tired of Spain too, but as I realize now in life, all these places just didn't fit my personality. So the original goal, now is the time to find my way into Sweden. But I had some friends that I was close with from the United Kingdom, Canada, and Sweden. I don't know why, I always had trouble making American friends, still kind of do. So I always talked about Japan and how interesting it was to me and how much I liked Japanese products. And they told me Sweden would always be there. So don't have that what if feeling. Mind you, at this point in the journey, I was right around 3 years in, with about 60% of it being genuinely on my own, hitchhiking and walking to different places and just wandering around. I was getting pretty tired of it. I wanted to belong somewhere, but before Spain, I visited the States to get my visa, and I knew that this wasn't the place for me at the time. So I went back to the States, spent a month with the family again after Spain, and got ready for Japan. Getting ready to go to Japan, I thought because of my experience with Spanish and my research in how to learn languages, I could pick up the basic conversational Spanish in a year and then head to Sweden. That was the plan. But I went to Japan, and originally, so if you know Studio Ghibli, a lot of their movies are based in Nagano. So I decided, let's go to the set of Studio Ghibli movies, because everyone in a Ghibli movie is so friendly and welcoming and open-minded. And I got a bit of a surprise. Where am I? So I had a few people in my life in Matsumoto, and I actually met my partner there, but it didn't seem like there was much of an opportunity for a future there, unless I wanted to be an English teacher forever. There's nothing wrong with teaching English. If you really like it, if you come here with your life goal to say, I want to be an English teacher, and just so happen to live in Japan, then English teaching is an amazing career. I highly recommend it. Now, if your base goal is whatever it takes to live and work in Japan, English teaching is an amazing answer. It's the best one. But if you're like roughly 98% of other expats who come here as English teachers but didn't dream of being an English teacher one day, you're going to hate it within a year. And that's one reason many people leave Japan. But I moved to Osaka thinking bigger city, super friendly, super laid back, and there'd be more opportunities. To some extent, yes, to some extent, no. Osaka, again, is a great place for the right person, but I'm actually starting this YouTube channel about 3 weeks before I leave Osaka. I'm not leaving Japan, I'm just leaving Osaka. But if you want to know more about that, you'll have to stay tuned and see the next few videos about why I'm doing that. And that's generally how I got here. The idea of this channel is going to be to show you Japan and to take you on an adventure to see the world I choose to call home. If that seems like something you're interested in, stick around for the ride, strap on a helmet and let's go. If you have any specific questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. Maybe even give it its own video if it needs enough detail. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.